Planes. Planes is not a new release by AEG. I've seen it around. And I must say, I did not know much about the game, and the assumptions that I had made about it were completely wrong. I thought I was completely misled about the nature of the game. Because of the title, even because of the font, because of the cover, I thought that this was a game that had to do with the Trains series of games that AEG has published recently. I thought maybe this was a slightly different version of Trains with with an airplane theme, and that is absolutely not the case. When I saw the game being played on a table at the AEG booth here at Origins, I thought that's really different. There's no way this has anything to do with Trains the game. And after looking at the game for like 30 seconds, I realized that this is basically a Mancala version, which is something that I found a little problematic, or at least I was a little torn about it, because of course this is a very ancient design. It has been around for a long time. It is one of these classic games, and at the same time it is a game that I have had a problem with, not so much because of the game per se, but because of the social situation in which I played. Simply put, this is one of my wife's favorite games. She often wants me to play it, and she is brutal. She's extremely good at it. I'm extremely bad at it, and she loves it because she can just turn me into a ball of crying, whimpering goo, and that's how effective she is and how terrible I am at classic Mancala. So here's the thing, I thought, well, if I acquire a game that is kind of like Mancala, I know I will always find somebody to play with, because I know my wife will always be happy to play with me, but will I be happy to play it with her? That is the trick. So if I can find something that has a Mancala aspect to it, but maybe there are some different things to it that will offset the advantage that my wife has. The point is that that's one of her favorite games. She has played it a million times, which is also something that I believe counts into giving her that incredible advantage. If I can find a newer version on which we may be on a more even footing, that maybe that may be good. Maybe that is a version of Mancala that I can actually play without feeling too ashamed and sad at the end. So I decided to try Planes, and in my video I'm going to tell a little bit about it, how it plays, and whether or not this is going to be part of my collection, and how I think it's going to fare in my family. Here you have the board of the game, which is double-sided. On the other side you have a different track which has a more elaborate shape, but this is the track that you should use at the beginning of the game. You have airplane tokens that represent the place where the players will be trying to board their cubes. You have cubes belonging to the players, and you can have up to 4 players, but all of the cubes will need to go on the board anyways in all games, because you need non-playing cubes to be able to perform movement here. You also have black cubes that are always independent cubes. They never represent players. So each player will have a set of cubes, an airplane of the corresponding color. There are neutral cubes, and also there are neutral black coded airplanes. Now, the game is very similar to Mancala. When it is your turn, you need to make a move, to move some of your cubes. And to do that, you grab, quote unquote, you activate all of the cubes that are in a location in which there's at least one of your cubes. At the beginning of the game, this is the situation, so there will be a space with only your cubes, and you simply grab those when it is your turn and you start moving. When you move, you drop one in each space where you're moving. A difference from Mancala is that you can stop at any time, and you simply drop all of the remaining cubes in the area where you decide to stop. Another interesting element when it comes to movement is that too many cubes in an airport may create a blockage. If there is an area where you have 7 or more cubes, a blockage is created. You indicate that by using one of these tokens, and now no cubes may move past that area. If more cubes enter that area, they are stuck there. The only way to remove the blockage is if one of the players that have a cube in there, that is one of the players that may choose to move from there, decides to do so, and this is how you free that space. But then you will have a lot of cubes. Then you will start dropping as you move around the board. I'm doing things pretty randomly now. I decided I want to stop here, for example. But that's how you get rid of a blockage, simply by moving from there, as opposed to cubes that get in there, they get stuck when they reach that area. What are you trying to do? Two things. The big thing to score points is to land your cubes in your airplane. And you can do so if you are in a situation where you manage to land a cube of your color in the gate adjacent to the airplane of your color, and that is the last cube of your movement. Suppose that this is the situation, and then the green player, I'm trying to land a cube in that gate. Then I activate this space, I grab these 3 cubes, I drop one there, I drop one there, and then this one I can drop there. It was the last one that I had. Then I perfectly reached that position exactly, my gate, and I can land that, I can load that on my airplane, and each cube that you load on one of your airplanes is worth 5 victory points. Also, you record the fact that you placed a cube on an airplane by moving this token here. This token goes up every time any one of the cubes on the board is loaded on one of the airplanes. You can also load black cubes on black airplanes if you manage to do so. 1, 2, and in that case you receive 2 cards. That is the benefit indicated by the black icon. Yes, because the second thing that you're trying to do in this game is to interact with cards. This is the biggest departure from classic Mancala. There are cards. Players will use cards during the game, and each card can be used for one or two things. It can be used as an action, or it can be used as a goal. Landing a black cube on a black airplane gives you 2 cards immediately. Actions. So during your turn you may spend an action to usually influence movement, and you simply resolve the effect described on the card. Now we have a card here that does not give you movement, allows you to draw 2 cards and discard 1, but you can move any 2 of your party to a fine dining restaurant. There are icons here on the board indicating points of interest, and if you want to set them up differently from the way they are on the board, then there are tokens that you can use to do that optionally. Otherwise you simply follow the configuration of points of interest. So this point of interest simply regulate movement in the sense of how they affect game effects that come from cards. You may skip a space, you may move on to your party, you may move backwards, which I find particularly powerful because I usually end up with my cubes just a little bit past where I want them to go. Then I can move backwards. I really like this card. As I said, you can use them as an action, then you simply discard them, or you can save them until after you moved, and then you can play a card to score a goal. You score a goal if you're able to fulfill the condition described in the icons by the goal, and in order for you to be able to fulfill it, you have to demonstrate that the condition occurs anywhere on the board. It doesn't have to be connected to the cubes that you just moved. You do not have to be the one that created the situation. If at the end of your turn the situation occurs, you play the card and you score it for points. You score that amount of points, so you save that card, goes in your play area, and you will receive the corresponding amount of victory points at the end of the game. To score this card, I need a space where there are exactly 4 black cubes, and this would be the case. I would be able to score this card. The white icon, the white die, indicates the color of the player that is playing the card. So if I'm playing this card, at least one of my cubes bought a souvenir at the gift shop, so is at the gift shop, then I'm able to score this card. Here I need a space with exactly 2 cubes. One has to be mine, one has to be of any color. Space with exactly 1 cube of my color, space with exactly 4 cubes of 2 different colors. Things like these are what will allow you to score these cards for points. So pretty simple. You move around, you play cards for effects or for scoring, and you continue like this until the game ends, which may happen in one or two ways. A total of 12 cubes anywhere on the board have been loaded on airplanes, or all of the cubes of one player of one color have been loaded on the corresponding airplane. Either way, the game ends, and at the point the player with the highest amount of victory points that will come from airplanes and cards is the winner of the game. So definitely a Mancala version with a different theme and some different mechanics, and it is a Mancala version that I enjoy. Now, I said all those things about Mancala at the beginning. Again, it's a great game, it is just that I'm not that good at it. But there have been other games that I played in the past that are built around the Mancala engine, but with a more of a thematic and more of a modern feel to them. Trajan is one such game, a Stefan Feld design, which actually is probably not very thematic, but you have a Mancala engine around which, however, you have many different options, so there's a lot more meat that have been added around the initial skeleton of the design, and I really like that game. I also like planes, even though to start once you start departing from the Mancala thing, the two games go in completely different directions. Trajan is a pretty meaty Euro game. This one is a very light game. The Mancala feel is still there. It is much closer to the original Mancala, yet it has extra goals and objectives that have been created here by the cards that definitely give it an overall flow and pace. I like the fact that you're not always trying to do the same thing or a single thing, but that you have changing objectives, so there's a strategy there also in trying to acquire cards to see more goals. And I definitely like the challenge that comes from having to choose whether to use a card for its effect or for its goal. You can't use an effect and score it too. It makes perfect sense, but it's an added challenge that you do not have in classic designs. Classic designs, I'm not talking about games from 20 years ago, I'm talking about chess, checkers, and games that have been handed down to us by tradition. That's a much modern thing. I like the fact that has been combined here with the classic Mancala engine. So on one hand, definitely I will be able to show this game to my wife and maybe get her interested in playing it with me. At the same time, the game has all these new set of objectives that would get a very proficient player of Mancala, such as my wife, and a casual player of Mancala, but somebody who plays modern games, on more equal grounds, and maybe we'll have this time a chance of resisting the relentless attacks of my wife's. This is for my very specific family situation. Generally speaking, I think this would be a good game. It is a light, simple game that you can show to non-gamers thanks to the connection with Mancala. So there's something familiar there. Somebody who has never played any of the modern games may know about Mancala and may be interested in giving a try to a new version of that game. And even somebody who has never played any game will not have any problem understanding this game. Like in Mancala, however, it takes a couple of turns before you can figure out how to go where you need to be, how to time things well, numerically and spatially, so that you get your final cube or cubes in the location that where you need to be. Like each time that I start playing Mancala, when I started playing this game, I had the problem of how do I deal with the space where there's one extra cube, one cube more than I needed to be, to go where I need to be and to score what I need to score. And precisely like in Mancala, after a while you start seeing that the best way of going from A to B is to start from C, influencing A to start with, and that is how finally you get to the final location. That is, not to get stuck on a single space or a single section, but to see things in a broader perspective, try to grab many options, to grab combinations of cubes that will allow you to spread things out in a way that maybe not this turn, maybe not the following one, but through a chain of actions, you will be able to accomplish your objectives. Which also means that very often you are setting up a situation gradually. You're not able to go from A to B in a single turn. But you're building up, you're setting up the situation that will allow you to score, which also means that the opponent may be seeing through your actions, maybe seeing through your setup, and may do things to prevent you from completing your sequence of actions just by moving your cubes, by adding some extra cubes to the area that you were planning to use next time to score. So planes, very simple, very linear, plays fast. Analysis paralysis could potentially be there, but the Mancala engine is such a simple, straightforward, intuitive one that I think you can deal with that. Most players will be able to look at the options that are open to them and find a way of exploiting them quite fast. If nothing else, a good thing is precisely that the cards will at least allow you to find goals that can be profitable and can still give you a reward even when you're not able to score some of the biggest goals. So instead of just obsessing on the board to be able to find to achieve that one objective that is profitable, at least you can go for intermediate, smaller objectives, which is more rewarding from the point of view of the experience, but very important to me from the point of view of the pacing of the game. Will allow the game to move faster because you may simply settle for a more casual, immediate, intuitive style of playing, going for many intermediate objectives instead of spending a lot of time thinking of a master plot which may or may not pay off, but for sure will annoy the heck out of the people that are sitting around the table and waiting for their turn to come around. So, planes, simple, light, enjoyable. It sounds familiar, it sounds like a game that you already played thanks to the Mancala aspect, but definitely actually it is its own thing. It is not a game that I played before. It's a variant that I found both familiar enough and new enough to be interesting to me and to be something that I can show to a player of Mancala and probably convince the player to play the game with me. Fun, simple game. It also looks good, which is an added bonus. So hey, I really enjoyed playing this game and I'm happy I've added it to my collection.